So in this method of classification, or in the method or various attempt to categorize the crude drugs, that is classification of crude drugs, we first understand what the meaning of classification is. Classification basically means how we can keep all the things together, those who are similar on any aspect, those who are similar or same on any aspect. Similar or same on any aspect means one medication can be analgesics, so we keep all the analgesics together. That is actually classification. If one medication is very good anti-hypertensive, we keep all the medications in the same category of anti-hypertensives. But yes, there are n number of ways to classify. Okay, there are so many ways to classify the crude drugs, and if we come on the few various methods or different ways to classify, then first method is alphabetically classification. What do you mean by alphabetical classification? Alphabetical classification is mean is if we just see the first letter of the name of the crude drug. What we have to see? We have to see just the first letter, not the complete name. The first letter or first alphabet, that according to English or according to language, Latin languages, and according to that first alphabet, we just arrange that medication at one place. Those medications whose name is starting with A, we keep them in that category, and then we found or come up with pages. Okay, that depends on how many medications are involved. Okay, and this method of classification is very commonly, very famously followed in Indian Pharmacopoeia as well as in other references book. Reason being, you can easily trace that. You just have to know the first name. That may be ciprofloxacin, that may be uh, some other category, nalixidic acid, that may be Oflox. So you just know the first name and then you can trace that. Likewise, we do in dictionary or font directory. The names are given and then numbers are given. Okay, next. If you see Indian Pharmacopoeia, okay, and in Indian Pharmacopoeia, like this method is follows. In British Pharmacopoeia, you know what the Pharmacopoeia is? Pharmacopoeia is basically the standard textbook or official publication of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare that is published by IPC. We have Indian Pharmacopoeial Commission that publish the reference standards along with the basic, you can say, analytical patterns or analytical uh, like guidelines which are there on each and every API. API is active pharmaceutical ingredient. Okay, so over there this method is followed. Now, what are the advantages of this alphabetical classification of method? This is very simplest. This is very traceable. Okay, you can trace name of drugs very easily, and no technical person is required. You just tell the name and then details can be given to you. You don't have to tell whether that medication is acting as anti-cancer. You just tell the name, that information will be given to you. What are the disadvantages of this method? You cannot identify whether that medication is taken from plant, animal, or minerals. What is the origin? You cannot come to know that by just knowing the name of that medications. Whether that medication is toxic or it's non-toxic, whether that is having a lot of side effect or no side effect, no side effects, or no side effect actually means very less side effects. You cannot, again, do not predict that on the basis of just name of that crude drug, right? Next, this system does not help in distinguishing the drug from the original source. You cannot tell that, right? So these are few advantages and few disadvantages of alphabetically classification of crude drug system. Now, if you just know the example in this sense is, you just arrange the medication's name on the basis of their name. That's it. उनको अरेंज करना है आपको क्या, मेडिकेशन के जो नाम लिखे हुए ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ देयर नेम. दैट्स इट. ठीक है, एंड अल्फाबेटिकली दैट शुड बी given, right? Next, the second type of classification is morphological classification. What happens in this morphological classification? Morphological classification, actually we understand that the medications should be grouped together and they should be placed together on the basis of their morphology. Again, meaning of morphology is how the basic structure of that medications look like, whether that is obtained from plant, whether that is obtained from animal, whether that is obtained from minerals. If that is obtained from the plants, now the medications which are obtained from the plants and animals, we can again divide that, or we can again classify that into two categories. The medications which we obtain from animals or plants again can be classified into two different set of categories. One set of category is cellular drugs and another set of category is acellular drug. ठीक है, got it? दो तरह के ड्रग्स होते हैं, दो तरह के मेडिकेशंस होती हैं और इनकी कैटेगरी है कौन सी? सेलुलर और एसेलुलर. कहां से होती हैं? प्लांट से और एनिमल से. ओके, दोनों ने कोई डिफरेंस नहीं किया है कि एनिमल से होंगी या प्लांट से होंगी. दोनों से, एनिमल और प्लांट से हम कलेक्टिवली सेलुलर एसेलुलर बांटते हैं. अब सेलुलर वर्ड समझते ही आप समझ पा रहे होंगे, you are able to understand that they will be having group of cells or tissue. Group of cells we call tissue, and group of cells means when the cells they perform specific functions and then they have specific structures or मतलब similar structure, we call that tissue. तो जहां पे भी जिस भी सेल के अंदर या जिस भी क्रूड ड्रग के अंदर सेल्स प्रेजेंट उसको सेलुलर कहेंगे, जिस भी क्रूड ड्रग के अंदर सेल्स एब्सेंट उसको एसेलुलर कहेंगे. फॉर एग्जांपल सेल्स मतलब कोई टिश्यू नहीं है, जैसे लीफ, सो मेनी सेल्स आर प्रेजेंट इन द लीफ, either that is dried or fresh. Cells तो present होंगी, yes, cells can be living or dead on the basis of the sample, freshness of the sample, but definitely cells will be present, right? If we talk about secretions like gums or liquid or juice, you can say like there will be no cells as such. Okay, there will be no differentiations of cells, means there will be no tissues as cells. One, two cells can be present here and there, but otherwise there will be no tissues as cell. If I talk about latex, that is opium latex, the morphine which we obtain from the opium plant, that basically is the secretions from that plant. Okay, morphine is a very common narcotic drug. Okay, and morphine is basically the secretions from the plant. Acacia, the example which is given over here as well, acacia, that is actually secretions from the plant. Acacia gum. Beeswax, again a product from the animals. So similarly we can classify on the basis of morphological classification into two parts, cellular, acellular, right? Cellular drugs are those drugs which have the tissues, that can be leaf, bark, wood, root, rhizome, stem, seed, anything, fiber, okay, anything. Acellular crude drugs are those crude drugs which do not have these structures in them, which basically do not have cells in them, that we call acellular or unorganized. Now you understand the questions. Many times the question is asked on the basis of unorganized and organized crude drug. Okay, because cellular, acellular, if somebody asks, then you can understand, oh, cellular means they want to ask whether tissue is there or not, whether root rhizome is there or not. But acellular, and then again you can tell the fixed oils, gums, juice, resins, fat, these are all acellular products, minerals. There are no cells present in the soil as such. Okay, or there are no tissues are present in the soil. So many times question is asked on the basis of cellular and acellular, right? Or organized or unorganized. And that is a intermediate part of morphological classification. If question is asked, what are morphological classifications What is morphological classification? Then you have to mention about organized and unorganized also. Understood? Next. Now you see, yes, I understand you are not or you may be not familiar with all the examples which are given on this page. Okay, but yes, you can classify crude drugs into organized. Organized again means the crude drugs which have cells or group of cells, that is tissues into them, and then leaf, bark, wood. If I say leaf, means these all crude drug. Forget about their names, forget about their uses, but these all crude drug, they definitely will be having leaves portion into that. ठीक है, ये सारे क्रूड ड्रग यूज होते हैं कहाँ? लीफ के फॉर्म में, इनके सबके पत्ते आते हैं, इनके सबके ज्यादा पत्ते एफिशिएंट है, लीफ सबसे ज्यादा एफिशिएंट है इनके उस फार्माकोलॉजिकल एक्शन के लिए. धतूरा, सेना, वसाका, डिजिटलिस, यू हैव ऑलरेडी स्टडीड अबाउट सेना. ठीक है, कैसी एंगस्टिफोलिया, you know about dhatura. Dhatura plant is very common plant which is having like religious values as well. Okay, religious matlab for purpose, its flower, fruit and leaves we use or we we devote them to Lord Shiva. Dhatura is also a very common plant. Okay, Dhatura metal is the species and family is Solanaceae. Vasaka is again a plant in which leaves are used. Digitalis is again a plant in which leaves are used. So Vasaka, digitalis, in all these medicinal plants basically. Okay, in all these medicinal plants, different portions of the plant are used. And which portion is used? That is given over here. To the next to that. In ephedra, we use the stem. In clove, saffron, pyrethrum, these all we use flowers only. They are more efficient or more active from that part of the plant. So that's why we keep them under morphological classification. Got it? Okay, next. Next portion, how we can come to know about various unorganized crude drugs and what are various examples of that. Similarly, in this slide, they have given various examples of unknown crude drugs into one category. They have given the examples, like in this category, they have given the examples of the part, or you can say of the type of the unknown crude drug that is. And in another category, that is over here, they have given the examples of this particular crude drug. Okay, similarly, these things are mentioned, and accordingly we can understand then, okay, which part of the plant is having dried latex. Opium, which I just quote that example, opium. Okay, papain is secretions from the papaya. पपीते से, पपीते के लेटेक्स से, पपीते के मिल्क से, मेनली अनड्राइड पपाया, उसके मिल्क से एक एंजाइम निकलता है जिसका नाम होता है पेपेन, इसको वेजिटेबल पेप्सिन बोलते हैं. ठीक है, जो डाइजेशन के लिए यूज होता है, प्रोटीन को डाइजेस्ट करने के लिए. We will study this particular enzyme in detail as well. Okay, so dried latex is, we are having latex preparations like opium, papain. Juices, we have aloe, quinu. Okay, then gum, we have acacia gum, we have tragant gum. Oils, oil हम सब यूज करते हैं, coriander oil, clove oil, cinnamon oil, ठीक है, mustard oil. These are all oil preparations. So in this slides they have given you the advantages and they have given you the examples of acellular or unorganized crude drugs, right? Next, if I want to come to know the examples of morphological classifications, then you can refer this slide and last slide. If I want to know about the advantages of the morphological classification, then we have to go on the next slide. That is this one. These are various advantages of the morphological classification. This classification is basically used to identify the adulterants. If you mix bark with a leaf, you can find out. If you mix root with the flower, you can find out. So that how we can come to know the whether adulterants are present in. Adulterant means if we mix inferior quality of things, that is called as adulteration. Okay, this is very, very convenient as well. We should focus on collecting that same part. If we know Dhatura is the plant where the leaves are used, we should collect the leaves itself. Okay, तो धतूरा की लीफ सबसे ज्यादा एक्टिव कंस्टिट्यूएंट को रखती हैं, तो हमें उसी पार्ट को कलेक्ट करना पड़ता है. एंड देन द नेक्स्ट एडवांटेज इज easily we can learn the uh, plant and their part, which part from which plant we should get and how we should utilize that. That is very easy task in this classification system. Whatever is disadvantages from studying about morphological system, we cannot come to know about what active constituents are present, what are the active constituents which are present, what are the biological source from where we can get them. And same part of the plant, leaves also in different plants can have different chemicals in them. Some leaf can have alkaloids like the Tura leaf, then ephedrine leaf, they can have alkaloids into them. Or some leaves can have glycosides into them. Some leaves can have oils into them. Okay, like mint leaf, they have various fragrance substance and oil into them. Mint oil, mint oil, pudine, mint is pudina, pudine ka oil, tail. ठीक है, तो different leaves can have different substance. So उसके बारे में हमें कोई भी information इस system of classification से नहीं मिलती है. Okay, so in this session we understand about, or we understood about, we learned about, we discussed about morphological classification as well as alphabetically classification of crude drugs. Okay, that's it. Thank you.